What if everything is still on hold because you're trying to think your way into a reality that only responds to how you feel? This is the great lie of manifestation in its most popular form. The belief that knowledge creates change, that if you just understand enough, think positively enough, repeat enough, then your life will catch up. But the field doesn't respond to what you know. It responds to what you embody, to what you feel in your nervous system as already real. That's the core truth of this video. Every reality is false until you feel it's real. Let that sink in. Your future, the one where you're already in love, already successful, already free, doesn't come alive because you want it, or study it, or even believe in it. It becomes real the moment your emotion aligns with it, the moment your inner world stops waiting for proof and starts living from presence. Because the quantum field doesn't listen to affirmations, it listens to coherence. Coherence is when your thoughts and feelings say the same thing. When your head isn't saying abundance while your gut still whispers, "I'm not safe." When your body isn't running the energy of fear while your mouth repeats, "I trust the universe." That's not alignment. That's contradiction. And the field reflects the dominant frequency, not the prettiest thought. This is why so many people say, "I've done all the inner work, but nothing's changing." Because on the surface, yes, the effort is there. But underneath it, the emotion is still tuned to the past, still wired to the familiar discomfort of who they used to be. And emotion, not intention, is what collapses potential into form. You don't manifest what you say. You don't manifest what you know. You manifest what you feel as already true. So what are you actually feeling most of the time? If you're still hoping, still doubting, still checking the mirror of reality for signs, then your dominant frequency is still tied to waiting. And waiting is the emotion of separation, of not yet, of almost. And the field obeys that. Here's what they never taught us. Emotion isn't just feedback, it's a command. When you feel from fear, you reinforce the timeline where fear is valid. When you feel from joy, before the reason arrives, you collapse into the version of you where joy is already justified. Neville Goddard called it living in the end. He didn't mean pretending. He meant feeling so deeply into the reality you choose that your body, your breath, your vibration can no longer distinguish it from now. Not because you're delusional, but because the field needs that level of conviction to respond. So let's get brutally honest. If you're still waiting for reality to feel different so you can feel different, you're locked in the loop. You're making your feeling depend on the evidence. But in the quantum field, it's the feeling that creates the evidence. This is why some people seem to manifest effortlessly, not because they're lucky or special, but because they've trained their emotional body to lead reality, not follow it. They feel the reality first, and reality rushes to match it, and you can do the same. In the next chapter, we'll explore the exact mechanics behind this. You'll learn how emotion becomes the language the quantum field understands, and why your body is the bridge between desire and reality. We'll decode what it really means to feel it real, and how to use emotion as a precision tool to shift timelines. But for now, ask yourself, what am I feeling, habitually, emotionally, unconsciously, that's keeping me locked in the reality I say I want to leave? Because until you shift the feeling, you're just rehearsing the same script with new lines. You've been told that your thoughts create your reality, but that's only half the truth. Because a thought, without feeling, is like a radio signal with no power. It exists, but it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't move energy. It doesn't shape matter. It doesn't communicate with the field. But when a thought is fused with emotion, real, embodied, coherent emotion, it becomes a broadcast. And that broadcast is what collapses quantum possibility into physical form. Emotion isn't just a reaction. It's a signal, a vibrational frequency that instructs the field. In the quantum world, where everything exists in wave form until it's observed, it is emotion that collapses those waves into particles, into actual experience. You don't observe with your eyes, you observe with your state. And your state is always being defined by what you're feeling, not just what you're thinking. This is why emotion is not secondary. It's the selector. It's what tells the quantum computer of the universe which version of reality you're tuned to. Let's go deeper into the science. Every thought you think creates a chemical signal. If that thought is neutral, the chemistry is weak, a background process. But when that thought is charged with emotion, especially strong emotion like joy, fear, gratitude, shame, it creates a cascade of hormones, neurotransmitters, and electromagnetic energy. This doesn't just affect your body. It affects your field. According to Dr. Joe Dispenza, when your heart and brain enter a state of coherence, meaning they're emotionally aligned, your electromagnetic field becomes measurable, organized, and expansive. You're no longer just a body, you're a beacon. And what you emit in that state is what begins to shape your next moment. Bruce Lipton takes it further. He shows that your emotional state literally changes your biology. Genes turn on or off depending on your dominant feeling. You're not just feeling for the sake of spiritual mood management. You're actively reprogramming your cells, your brainwaves, your future. And that's not all. Emotion has direction. When you feel something deeply, your energy isn't just staying inside you. It's reaching out, radiating. Think of it like a sonar ping, bouncing off the quantum field, returning with a match. That match may be a conversation, an opportunity, a breakdown, a miracle. But it didn't show up because you thought it hard enough. It came because you felt it real enough. This is what Neville Goddard meant when he said, "Feeling is the secret." He wasn't being poetic. He was describing the mechanism. Feeling is the signature that validates a thought as true, not to your mind, but to your subconscious, and therefore, to the field. Because the field mirrors you, not your goals, not your vision board, not your good intentions, but your current frequency. And that frequency is driven by one thing: emotion. But not just any emotion. What matters most is the emotional baseline, the feeling you return to when you're not performing. That's what the field reads. That's what your body is broadcasting 24/7. Not the peak moments when you say, "I am grateful," but the consistent feeling tone of your inner world. Are you vibrating from lack, or from fullness, from waiting, or from knowing, from anxiety, or from calm certainty? Because whatever you feel most often is the reality your system is tuned to, and the field doesn't argue. It doesn't care what you wish to feel. It reflects what you actually hold. Here's the radical shift. You don't need more techniques. You need emotional alignment. You don't need to think better thoughts. You need to feel the truth of the new you, now. And you don't need the evidence to feel it. You need to feel it to create the evidence. This is not delusion. It's design. It's how quantum potential collapses into physical form, and the interface between potential and form is you, your body, your heart, your nervous system. That's the machinery. That's the transmitter. Your feelings aren't fluff. They are the dashboard, the control panel of your timeline. So the question becomes, what feeling are you loyal to? And is that feeling pointing you toward the past, or pulling you into the future? In the next chapter, we'll explore how most of us have been emotionally trapped, not by current reality, but by past emotion. You'll see how your body memorizes old frequencies and keeps recycling timelines, not because you're broken, but because you haven't taught it a new feeling. Yet. Because once you do, everything changes. It's one of the most frustrating things in the world, knowing exactly what you want, doing the work to change, setting new intentions, and still ending up back in the same patterns, same outcomes, same emotions. And you start to wonder, what am I doing wrong? The answer is rarely about your goals, your strategy, or even your mindset. It's about your emotional memory. Most people aren't living in the present. They're living in an emotional echo, reliving feelings from 5, 10, 20 years ago. Not because they want to, but because their body learned those feelings so well, they became familiar. And what's familiar becomes home, even if it hurts. This is what we call the emotional inversion, the habit of feeling from the past while trying to create a new future. You want to shift timelines, but your nervous system is still tuned to what happened before, the betrayal, the failure, the disappointment. So your subconscious says, this is who I am, this is how I feel, this is what's safe. And the field responds, not with what you want, but with what you've practiced feeling. Because here's the truth most people never confront. You're not feeling what's real. You're making real what you feel. The moment your body goes into a familiar emotional state, stress, anxiety, frustration, unworthiness, it sends out a signal. That signal becomes your vibrational address. And life, like a cosmic GPS, routes everything toward you based on that signal. You don't attract what's good. You attract what's active. And what's most active for most people is the past. You wake up thinking about your goals, but your emotions are still tied to yesterday's fight, last month's letdown, or that childhood script that says, I always mess it up. So even when you visualize a better future, your body is broadcasting a different story, one that contradicts your desire. This is why the same patterns keep repeating. Not because you're cursed, but because your frequency hasn't changed. You're broadcasting the same identity while wishing for a new one. And the quantum field doesn't reward effort. It reflects alignment. If your heart still feels the old emotion, the field still delivers the old timeline. This is what neuroscience and spirituality both agree on. Your body doesn't know the difference between an emotion tied to a real-time experience and one triggered by memory or imagination. When you relive an emotional event, even in thought, your brain fires the same neurons, your body releases the same chemicals, and your field reactivates the same signal. So you're not reacting to what's happening now. You're reacting to what used to happen and calling it reality. This is the emotional prison that keeps people stuck. And the most dangerous part? It feels normal. Because your identity has adapted to those emotions. Your sense of self is built around them. So even when something good happens, part of you resists it. Not because you don't want it, but because it doesn't match your internal signature. It doesn't feel safe. You self-sabotage. You delay. You hesitate. Not consciously, but emotionally. This is why the most powerful shift you can make isn't changing your vision board or repeating more affirmations. It's breaking the emotional loop that says, this is just how I feel, because that feeling isn't truth. It's a program, and it can be rewritten. But it requires a new type of discipline, not mental but emotional. You must become more loyal to the feeling of the future than the familiarity of the past. You must teach your body what it feels like to live in the new timeline before the evidence arrives. That's the inversion we must flip. You've been waiting for the new life to give you a new feeling, but the quantum truth is, you must feel the new life to receive it. Not once, not when it's easy, but every day, in advance, on purpose. And that's exactly what we'll do in the next chapter, where you'll learn a powerful emotional ritual that collapses the version of you you're calling in by teaching your body to feel it now. But before we go there, ask yourself, what emotions have I normalized that no longer belong to the version of me I'm becoming? And am I willing to release the emotional past, even if it's familiar, to finally feel the future? Because once you do, reality has no choice but to follow. There's a hidden doorway between where you are and where you want to be. It doesn't open with effort, logic, or even desire. It opens when your body begins to experience the future as if it were happening now. When your nervous system stops waiting for proof and starts broadcasting belief. When emotion stops being a memory and becomes a magnet. This is the moment where timelines shift. Not because something outside changed, but because you did. And that's what this chapter is about. Not another concept, but an embodied ritual to activate your new frequency. One that doesn't require you to fake it, force it, or hope hard enough, just to feel on purpose. To collapse a new version of you not by visualizing harder, but by feeling deeper. Because here's the quantum truth. The field doesn't respond to what you think you deserve. It responds to what you emotionally accept as normal. And if you're still waiting for the external world to feel different before you allow yourself to feel different, you're delaying the collapse. You're pushing the timeline away. But when you start to pre-feel, when you teach your body how it feels to be free, in love, whole, now, You signal to the quantum field that this version of you already exists. And because the field responds to frequency, not chronology, it begins to organize reality around that signal. This isn't pretending, it's programming. And here's how you do it. Sit somewhere quiet. Close your eyes. Bring your awareness to your heart space, not to analyze, but to sense. Choose the reality you want to feel real. Be specific. Not just, I want abundance, but I am living in stability, ease, and flow. Not I want love, but I feel safe, chosen, and cherished. Now drop the words. Move into the feeling, not the thought of having it, but the felt sense of being it. Ask your body, what would it feel like to already live this way? Let the emotion arise naturally. Don't force it. Wait for the body to shift. You may feel warmth, openness, lightness. Let it spread. Amplify gently. Breathe into that emotion. Smile into it. Let it fill you. Not to convince, but to remember. Repeat silently. I feel it real now. Stay for a few minutes. Let your body memorize this state. Let it become familiar. Let it become safe. When ready, open your eyes. Move through your day from this version of you. This practice isn't just energetic, it's neurological. Every time you feel from the future instead of reacting from the past, you build a new pathway in the brain, a new set point in your heart, a new vibrational signature in your field, and repetition is what locks it in. The goal isn't to feel perfect, it's to feel on purpose, to become emotionally loyal to the version of you that already exists, even if your current reality hasn't caught up yet. Because eventually, it will. Your job is not to watch the clock. Your job is to keep the signal alive. And the more you hold that frequency, not once a month but as a way of being, the faster the external world begins to conform. People shift. Money flows. Ideas land. Not because you forced the outcome, but because you finally embodied the cause. You didn't wait for the future. You felt it first. And the field had no choice but to mirror it. So now it's your turn. Right now. Not later, not tomorrow. Drop into that emotion. And when it lands, when you feel it even slightly, let that be your new baseline. Let that be your new code. Comment below. I feel it real now. Let it be your declaration. Your frequency stamp. A signal to the field, and to yourself, that the shift has already begun. In the next chapter, we'll reveal what happens after the shift, how timelines respond to sustained emotional coherence, and why your consistent feeling state is the single most powerful tool you have for moving into a new version of reality. But for now, don't just think the future. Feel it. Now. Stay with me because there is still a lot of new content in this video. Let's continue. There's a version of you right now living the life you've been trying to create. Not a metaphor, not a someday. A literal vibrational version, already present in the quantum field. They don't struggle to believe. They don't rehearse affirmations. They don't wonder if it's coming. For them, it's normal. It's now. And the only thing separating you from that version is emotion. Because in the quantum universe, shifting timelines isn't about doing more. It's not about visualizing harder or meditating longer. It's about emotional resonance. Timelines don't respond to thought alone. They respond to what you feel as true. That feeling becomes the selector, the activator, the key that unlocks the door between the version of you that's almost there and the version of you who's already arrived. Let's make this practical. Every timeline, every version of your life carries a unique frequency signature. That frequency isn't based on what it looks like on the outside, but how it feels on the inside. The version of you who lives in abundance isn't just surrounded by wealth. They feel relaxed, generous, worthy. The version of you in deep love doesn't just have the perfect partner. They feel safe, open, radiant. And the field doesn't give you what you want. It gives you access to the timelines you match. So the real question is, what emotions are you rehearsing daily? Not the ones you wish to feel, the ones you keep feeding. If you're still waking up in low-level anxiety, still checking your reality for signs, still bouncing between hope and doubt, then those feelings are tuning you into timelines where those states are valid. Not because you're broken, because you're consistent. And consistency is what the field listens to. Your dominant emotional state becomes your vibrational home, and your home defines your reality. This is why people who feel unworthy, even while manifesting, often repel the very things they claim to want. Their desire says yes, but their emotion says no. And the field, always loyal, responds to the no, because that's the stronger signal. This is the missing link for most people trying to change their lives. They think they have to become someone entirely new. But in truth, you only have to feel like the version of you who already has it. Not once. Not perfectly. Just often enough for your body to believe it's safe, and for your field to recognize the signal. Because here's the mechanism. When you feel a new emotion, you send a new signal. That signal creates a feedback loop. The more you feel it, the more evidence begins to appear. The more evidence appears, the more your belief solidifies. And belief is not the cause, it's the confirmation that you've become the match. Emotion is the bridge between potential and embodiment. It's not feedback, it's frequency access. And this is where everything changes, because now you realize you don't have to wait for circumstances to feel the way you want to feel. You can feel now, on command. And the moment you do, you begin to collapse into that timeline. The new version of you doesn't arrive, you arrive at them. Think of emotion like a password. Each timeline requires a code to access, and the code is always emotional, not intellectual, not conceptual. You can understand everything about abundance and still not live in it, because you've never given your body permission to feel abundant. You're holding the key in your hand, but refusing to turn the lock. So how do you shift? You stop waiting for evidence. You start practicing the feeling. You become emotionally loyal to the version of you that lives the life you want, not by performing, but by choosing it again and again, until your body forgets the old normal. And when it does, something strange happens. You stop needing the shift and it arrives. You stop checking the mirror, and it reflects you. You stop proving, and people feel your presence. Because the field no longer sees you as someone becoming. It sees you as someone being. And being is what bends timelines. This is not a motivational idea. It's quantum reality. You don't need to force the outcome. You need to stabilize the state. And the state is emotional. In the final chapter, we'll bring all of this into focus and remind you that the only real delay between you and the life you're calling in is emotional hesitation. That the moment you fully feel it as real, consistently, deeply, and without apology, you'll realize the timeline has already shifted. You won't have to chase it, because you'll be in it. There comes a moment in every journey where you stop asking, when will it happen, and start living as if it already has. Not because you're trying to fool the universe, but because you've finally remembered the truth. Nothing becomes real until you feel it real. This is the shift. From becoming to being. From hoping to knowing. From chasing to embodying. Because now you understand what most people never fully grasp. Reality doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to your emotional identity. Who you are being day after day in the unseen moments. That's what the field reflects. You don't need another breakthrough. You don't need a new method. You need to live now as if the future is already here. Not as a performance, but as a permission. Permission to feel peace before circumstances justify it. Permission to feel love before anyone arrives. Permission to feel abundance while the bank account still says, not yet. Because what you feel, you fuel, and what you embody, you become. The field doesn't require your perfection, it only requires your coherence. When your thoughts, your emotions, and your energy stop contradicting each other, when they align in service of the same identity, you don't have to try to manifest. You simply collapse into a timeline that was always waiting for you. So ask yourself, can I trust the feeling more than the facts? Can I stay in the state even when the evidence isn't here yet? Can I remember who I am, even when the world tries to reflect who I used to be? Because that is mastery. That is the real work. And that is the frequency of the new you. And here's what's even more powerful. The moment you stop needing the old version of you to go away, the new one arrives. Not because something outside shifted, but because you stopped resisting what was already inside. You stopped searching. You stopped fixing. You stopped postponing your own embodiment. And you began to live it. This is where it all leads. Not to another step, but to a deeper stillness. A moment of total alignment where you no longer need to chase the future, because you feel it now. And by feeling it, you collapse it. Not in theory, in your field, in your biology, in your timeline. This isn't fantasy. This is how the quantum universe works. So if you've felt the resonance of this truth, if something inside you knows it's time to stop waiting and start living from alignment, then it's time to keep this frequency alive. Not just for a moment, but as a practice, as a lifestyle, as your new default. And to help you go deeper, we've created something that isn't just content. It's a calibration tool, a vibrational companion for your evolution. Check out my ebook, Awaken Your Quantum Power, in the pinned comment. This is a guide designed to help you embody, stabilize, and live the frequency that creates real transformation. Not because you need more information, but because you're ready for more integration. This is how it begins. Not with proof, with feeling, not with arrival, with awareness. So live it now, not someday, not when it shows up. Now. Because once you feel it real, reality will have no choice but to follow.